Reflex, voluntary actions and conditional reflexes. An exploration of how our body responds to stimuli through different neural pathways. Lesson overview: reflex and voluntary actions. Understanding automatic and conscious responses. The reflex arc. Exploring the pathway of reflex actions. Conditioned reflexes. Learning how behaviors become automatic. Coordination systems. Comparing nervous and hormonal coordination. Actions. Responses to stimuli. Actions are how our body responds to various stimuli. These responses can be broadly categorized into two main types: involuntary, reflex actions. Automatic responses that occur without conscious thought or control. Voluntary actions. Conscious responses that are planned and involve the higher centers of the brain. Reflex actions. Automatic responses. Reflex actions are rapid, involuntary responses to stimuli that occur without conscious thought or control from the higher centers of the brain. Common examples: jerking of the legs, e.g., knee-jerk reflex. Blinking of the eyes, e.g., when an object approaches. Rapid withdrawal from painful stimuli. Pupil constriction, in response to bright light. Protective function. These actions are primarily protective, shielding us from dangerous stimuli and helping to maintain our body's posture and balance. The reflex arc. The reflex arc is the neural pathway that mediates a reflex action, connecting the stimulus to the response. Stimulus detection. Sensory receptors detect a stimulus, e.g., touch, heat, pressure. Neural pathway. The signal rapidly travels through a series of specialized neurons, sensory, interneuron, motor, to the spinal cord and back. Effector response. An effector organ, such as a muscle or gland, carries out the immediate, involuntary response. Components of the reflex arc. Sensory receptors. These specialized cells or nerve endings receive the initial stimulus from the environment or body. Sensory neurons, also known as afferent neurons. They carry the nerve impulse from the sensory receptors towards the central nervous system, CNS. Relay neurons. Found within the CNS, usually the spinal cord, these interneurons process the signal and pass the impulse to motor neurons. Motor neurons, also known as efferent neurons, they carry the nerve impulse from the CNS to the effector organs. Effectors. These are the muscles or glands that receive the impulse from the motor neurons and carry out the immediate, involuntary response. This efficient pathway allows for rapid responses to stimuli without requiring conscious thought, safeguarding the body from potential harm. Types of reflex actions. Spinal reflex. These reflexes involve the spinal cord as their primary integrating center, allowing for very rapid responses. Examples include the knee-jerk response and rapid withdrawal from pain. Cranial reflex. These reflexes involve the brain as their integrating center, often related to sensory inputs from the head. Common examples are pupil constriction in bright light and blinking when an object approaches the eye. Voluntary actions. Voluntary actions are initiated and controlled by the conscious part of the brain, which involve thoughts before performance. Conscious control. These actions are initiated and controlled by the conscious parts of the cerebrum. Deliberate execution. They involve planning and thought processes before being performed, such as playing football. Complex coordination. Voluntary actions utilize most reflex arc components, along with ascending and descending fibers in the spinal cord, for tasks like writing. Intentional movement. Examples include driving a car, walking, and solving mathematical problems, all requiring conscious intent. Reflex versus voluntary actions. Reflex action. Voluntary action. Does not involve higher center of the brain, unconscious. Involves higher center of the brain, conscious. Involves smaller number of neurons. Involves numerous neurons. Response is rapid. Response is slow. Response is stereotyped. Response varies with circumstances. It is inborn. It can be learned. Pathway comparison. Reflex actions and voluntary actions utilize different neural pathways, leading to variations in response time and involvement of the conscious brain. Reflex pathway. This pathway is shorter, bypassing the conscious brain, which allows for incredibly rapid, involuntary responses to stimuli. Voluntary pathway. This pathway is longer, involving the higher centers of the brain for conscious processing, resulting in more deliberate and controlled actions. Conditioned reflexes. A reflex action may be instinctive reflex. Does not have to be learned, inborn. Example, sucking behavior of a newly born baby. Conditioned reflex. Learned responses that can be performed without thinking. Example, walking, riding a bicycle, writing. Ivan Pavlov demonstrated conditioned reflexes by associating a dog's feeding time with the sound of a bell, eventually causing the dog to salivate at the bell sound alone. Pavlov's classical conditioning. Before conditioning, the unconditioned stimulus, food, naturally leads to an unconditioned response, salivation. A neutral stimulus, bell, produces no response. During conditioning, the bell and food are repeatedly presented together. This creates an association between the sound of the bell and the arrival of food. After conditioning, the bell alone becomes a conditioned stimulus, eliciting the conditioned response of salivation. The dog has learned to associate the bell with food. Roles of conditioned reflexes. Skill acquisition. Conditioned reflexes help us acquire new skills, transforming deliberate actions into automatic habits. Behavior modification. They enable the modification of simple reflex actions, based on new conditions or learned associations. Increased efficiency. As movements become faster and more automatic, conditioned reflexes allow for highly complicated behaviors with increased efficiency. Conditioned reflexes allow us to perform complex tasks without conscious thought, freeing our minds for higher-level thinking. Examples of conditioned reflexes. Typing without looking at keys. Fingers automatically find the right keys through repeated practice, a learned response. Riding a bicycle. Balance and pedaling become automatic after initial learning, allowing for effortless movement. Driving a car. Through practice, actions like shifting gears and steering become automatic, requiring less conscious thought. Playing a musical instrument. Complex finger movements and coordination become ingrained, allowing musicians to play without thinking of each note. Performing complex athletic movements. Professional athletes execute intricate maneuvers and strategies automatically due to extensive training and repetition. Instinctive versus conditioned reflexes. Instinctive reflex. Conditioned reflex. Present at birth. Acquired through learning. Genetically determined. Environmentally influenced. Cannot be modified easily. Can be modified through training. Universal within a species. Varies between individuals. Example, blinking, knee-jerk. Example, typing, cycling. Coordination systems in the body. The body has two main systems for coordinating responses to stimuli, each with distinct characteristics. Nervous system utilizes rapid electrical and chemical signals, neurotransmitters, for fast, short-duration responses, primarily controlled by the brain and spinal cord. Hormonal system relies on chemical signals, hormones, transported through the bloodstream, leading to slower, longer-lasting effects, regulated by various glands throughout the body. Both systems work together to maintain homeostasis and respond to internal and external changes. Nervous versus hormonal coordination. Nervous coordination. Hormonal coordination. Messages transmitted as electrical impulses. Messages transmitted as chemical impulses. Transmission via nerve fibers. Transmission via bloodstream. Transmission is very fast. Transmission is slow. Response is fast, short-lived and precise. Response is slow, long-lasting and widespread. Controlled by brain and spinal cord. Controlled by pituitary gland. Effectors, muscles and glands receive message. Target organs receive message. Real-life example. Touching a hot object. Stimulus detection. Specialized pain receptors in the fingertips quickly detect the high temperature from the hot object. Signal transmission. Sensory neurons immediately carry this detected impulse from the fingertips towards the spinal cord. Signal processing. Within the spinal cord, relay neurons facilitate a direct connection between the sensory input and the motor neurons. Response generation. Motor neurons then transmit signals, instructing the arm muscles to contract and initiate movement. Action. The hand swiftly withdraws from the hot object, occurring as an immediate reflex, even before conscious awareness of the pain is registered. Key takeaways. Reflex actions. Automatic, unconscious responses that provide rapid protection from harmful stimuli. Voluntary actions. Conscious, deliberate responses that allow for complex, variable behaviors. Conditioned reflexes. Learned automatic responses that improve efficiency and skill performance. Coordination systems. Nervous and hormonal systems work together with complementary strengths for bodily regulation. Understanding these systems helps us appreciate how our bodies respond to the environment and adapt through learning.